Hi there, I'm Jamie Taylor. Welcome to Your Health Matters, brought to you by Kingman Regional Medical Center, your community-owned hospital. Each week I have a different guest on the program that talks about different services and programs that we provide here at KRMC. I've got a great guest on the program today, so I hope you'll stay tuned. We'll be back right after these messages. Welcome back to Your Health Matters. My guest today is Gretchen Hildner. Hi, Gretchen. Thanks for being on the show today.
Pleasure.
Now, you're a therapist, registered therapist, certified therapist? What's the correct?
I'm a physical therapist.
Physical therapist,
and I'm a certified lymphedema therapist now.
Okay, great. So now, lymphedema, big word. What does that mean exactly? What is that?
What it amounts to, it's a condition where you get swelling in usually an arm or a leg.
Okay.
And it results from damage to your lymphatic system.
Okay, and how do we damage our lymphatic
How does that happen?
system?
You know, you can actually be born with it. That would be primary lymphedema. And it's a small percentage of lymphedema cases. You can have little babies who have big arms or big bellies.
So they get swelled?
They get swollen.
Yeah, okay.
But most commonly in our area, it would be in our area, meaning our country, in the developed world, it would be as a result usually of cancer treatment and very often of breast cancer treatment.
Okay.
Where the lymph nodes might be removed, or through radiation of the lymph nodes. The lymph nodes are a big part of the lymphatic system.
Okay.
Or just the mastectomy itself.
Can cause damage to the lymph nodes, which then
We have lymph vessels, where we have our veins and arteries for our circulatory system, and running along with those are the lymphatic arteries.
Oh.
The lymphatic vessels.
Okay.
And they're throughout our whole body, like the other vessels are, and they can be damaged as well.
Oh, I did not know that. I guess I always thought you hear of lymph nodes when they're doing breast cancer. Like you said, that seems to be more common.
I know of only one case where a man had an unusual injury, cut all the way around his arm, and he ended up with lymphedema because all those lymph vessels were occluded. So what happens is, like, if I had swelling in my arm, all those lymph vessels are they're regularly emptying extra fluid. Things you never think about.
That's what a lymph node does, is to move the fluid.
So it takes all this fluid, it's water, it's also any waste products we have, any extra proteins, cellular debris, fats, and it just gathers all that up and it takes it in and it gets filtered through the lymph nodes. The lymph nodes also will add in extra white blood cells, since the lymph system is part of our immune system.
Okay.
And so that fresh filtered fluid keeps continuing on, and it goes back into our circulatory system.
Okay. So when they aren't working properly...
When the lymph nodes are damaged here, you get a traffic jam. So it's a 4-lane highway, and there's only one car getting through at a time.
Oh, and it all backs up, just like going to San Diego in rush hour. Not Stockton Hill.
Right.
Okay, so what can you do to fix that, though? I mean, so that happens. Do you send in a policeman to direct traffic?
Kind of. That's what the therapist does.
Okay.
There's really not a medical intervention that's successful with this.
Okay.
A diuretic or a water pill might get rid of fluid, but the problem is the proteins are still in there, and proteins will draw water back to them.
Oh.
So the condition's going to stay.
Okay.
So what we need to do is complete decongestive therapy. And what that involves is that the therapist will help to kind of redirect, make a detour for that fluid, because we've got some good lymph nodes over here, we've got some good ones down in our groin area, and we can sort of bypass the injured area and to help to redirect the fluid.
Okay.
And once we've done that, then we're going to bandage the arm up. And that acts, it's almost like a cast. It's not really tight, but it prevents the fluid from going back into the arm.
So it was like a tourniquet, sort of,
a little, but again,
it's
it's tight. Right.
Okay.
So that procedure is just keeps being repeated. You take measurements every week, and they go down and down and down. And as soon as the arm seems to be as small as it's going to get, then we would get measured for a compression sleeve.
Oh, okay.
And you're just going to wear that sleeve every day.
For the rest of your life, pretty much. Because
Pretty
once
much.
they're damaged, they don't come back.
That's correct.
Okay.
However, now I mentioned that we've got these other lymph node beds, that fluid, we can, and I don't think we know exactly how this may happen, but over years of being really good with wearing your sleeve, doing some of the manual lymph drainage yourself, some people don't have to wear that sleeve every day, or they can get away with not wearing it very much unless they really, really need it. And my guess is that a lot of these ancillary pathways are kind of opened up and improved, and so the fluid has other escape routes.
Makes sense, because you think about it, like they talk about if someone loses their sight, their hearing gets stronger. And our bodies are pretty amazing things.
They adapt pretty well.
So they can, one side says, hey, they're not working over there, we're going to have to work harder.
And you can kind of help that along.
Okay. Now those sleeves you mentioned, I mean, do they also have socks? Because you said you could have it in your leg too.
And if you have anything, if you've had radiation for cancer anywhere in your abdomen, or with rectal cancer, or prostate cancer, any of those can lead to swelling of one leg or even both legs.
Oh, wow.
Or it can include the genitals too.
Oh, wow.
It even can include the abdomen. So it just depends on how intensive the procedure was, what the surgery was, how much radiation, how bad
and where it was.
So yeah, and you can get the same compression garments for your legs.
Okay, so it's garments really that it comes down to. Now, so what is that sleeve or garment made from that makes it work like that?
They're pretty complex. They look really simple, and that I guess belies the technology underneath.
Okay.
Anywhere from just a simple, relatively stretchy fabric to something that's more constrictive, and those flat knit, really kind of stiffer fabrics actually have a latex thread in the middle that's covered with several layers of cotton. So even if you're latex sensitive, you can still wear them.
Oh, that's good to know. Yeah.
But again, not very much stretch, but some of them are very light and easy to wear.
So you're saying you literally get fitted just like a shoe, right?
Yeah.
Knowing
and you
your
want to
length
be, and I've had people tell me that they just hate it, but when you look at it, you realize it's not the right fit. So it's important to get the right fit so it's comfortable.
Okay.
Because if you're not going to wear it, then it's not doing you any good.
Sure. Now, is that something that insurance usually covers?
It's
a techie question. Yeah.
Medicare does not cover garments at all.
Oh dear.
Some insurance companies will cover either part or all, and it just depends.
Okay. Because if you don't wear that garment, then you're probably going to have to keep doing the therapy, right?
And you were right when you said before, this is something that you have for life. Lymphedema is a condition that you have to manage. It can't be cured.
Okay.
So one way or the other, if you have a moderate case, more than just a mild case, you really are going to need something, or it's going to probably progress and progress.
I was just going to say, it sounds like it'll just get worse.
It can.
If you don't find a way to get that traffic moving again.
Yeah.
So, the whole lymphedema, we talked about how you can get it, and are there things that they can do to prevent it?
Absolutely. If you, for instance, if you've had a lymph node removed or radiation, you're at risk for lymphedema.
Okay.
So and we even call that stage 0, or the latent stage, because your lymphatic system's damaged. You might not ever have symptoms. You might be 10 years before you have symptoms.
Oh, really? Interesting.
I've seen a couple people who for 10 years were fine, but then they had some kind of injury to the arm. So if you think about it, we have maybe a few lymph nodes left after that, and that's enough for daily use. Sure. But if something happens that causes extra swelling down here, that's enough to cause the bottleneck, and all of a sudden you've got the big arm. So people who have this condition, because our lymphatic system is part of our immune system, that means the immune system of that extremity is impaired. So
and can that affect the rest of your body though too? If it
yes and no.
Okay.
But it's if you get a mosquito bite over on this arm, no problem.
Yeah.
If you get a mosquito bite over here, you might be surprised at the reaction.
Okay.
Because it just can't handle it as well as other
other
parts of
side.
your body.
Uh-huh.
So you have to be extra careful with that limb, that leg, or that arm. Make sure you wear good insect repellent if you're going to be somewhere with
Okay,
mosquitoes.
yeah.
You don't want to burn it, cut it, sunburn.
Any kind of a injury or
If you get sunburn on your body, everything else is probably okay. This one might blow up.
wow.
So you got to be extra careful and take just meticulous skincare,
Okay.
making sure that it stays moisturized.
Mm-hmm.
So, because dry, flaky skin can get damaged more easily. And if you
What-
get any cut, to make sure you clean it real
good,
carefully.
okay.
And
So what's the worst case scenario if someone has lymphedema and they start swelling? If they don't go to therapy and stuff, what was that fluid?
it makes the condition worse.
Mm-hmm.
It does, it's just going to advance it that much more.
Okay.
So.
I guess I just have visions of. It sounds terrible, but I have this picture in my head of someone's arm getting so big that it just kind of explodes. But that's
Well, you've ever heard of elephantiasis, like the elephant
Oh,
man?
yeah.
That was lymphedema. That
oh
was an
really?
advanced
That's
stage
what
of
that came
lymphedema.
from. Oh,
And we'll still see that in undeveloped countries, where
Right,
the most
okay.
common cause for it is filariasis, which is something you get from mosquitoes or insects.
oh,
It's an infection, and it affects the lymphatic system, and because there isn't the kind of care they need,
Sure.
you will see. I mean, you can look it up online.
Yes,
There's
okay.
awful, sad pictures.
Oh.
Just enormous limbs that
swelling.
are, especially when it's the legs. It's just you can hardly walk sometimes.
I was just going to say, and it's probably one of those chicken and egg thing, I mean, where it gets so swollen they can't walk.
Yeah.
So, and the exercise, I would think, is of some help,
Yeah.
right? Because you're helping get things moving a little bit. Does that help? I mean, with
It does help to some extent. In fact, it's an integral part of the complete decongestive therapy, especially when you're wearing a bandage. You want to be doing some light exercises because that helps everything to
Keep
flow.
moving, yeah.
And the bandage keeps it from going back in.
Right,
So
right.
without that, exercise is good for everything.
That's true,
I'll never
yeah.
say not to exercise.
Okay, very good. Well, I have to ask you, Gretchen, how did you get into being a lymphedema physical therapist? How'd
Well,
you
yeah, I have to
specialize?
admit it wasn't, something that was necessarily on my radar. Like most people, I wasn't that aware of lymphedema. I
Right.
knew of it, and there aren't a lot of lymphedema therapists around.
I
but
know we haven't had one here until we
Right.
got you for a long time.
we have a great cancer center,
Mm-hmm.
and they called over to our rehab department and said, "Hey, do you have anyone who does lymphedema? Because we've got some patients."
That are needing it.
And so I went out and I got trained.
Okay,
And
so it's you go through your regular becoming a physical therapist to begin with, and then this is like a specialty
Mm-hmm. Right.
that you learn more
It's-
about.
And it's a pretty thorough, pretty extensive training
Okay.
for this.
How long?
It's a total of 135 hours.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And more than half of that, about 90 of those hours, is in-person, hands-on,
Hands-on training.
both learning more anatomy, physiology, and doing the practicing and learning of the
So it's
manual
mostly it's
techniques.
massage mostly, or
It's there's that specialty massage, which is a very light technique, and the bandaging techniques,
oh,
which
okay.
is
And then learning how to fit the sleeve. You have
Exactly,
to do all
and the
that
fitting.
too, right?
Mhm.
And so that's all part. And then obviously that's not something because it is special ordered. So it's not like we have a stock in the back room, right?
There are several different manufacturers of garments, and each
Okay.
one has its own over-the-counter sleeves
Oh.
or legs.
So like a pharmacy?
Pharmacies have some,
Okay.
and there are several different companies online also, where
okay.
you probably get more selection. But I imagine if you want to use your local pharmacy, if you know exactly what you want, you could request it
Okay.
from them, and they could
Okay.
order it for you.
So when you fit them, it's a length and width thing, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. We're going to take a quick break,
Okay.
and we'll come back and we can talk some more.
Okay.
So I hope you're learning, because I know I am. Stay tuned. We'll be back right after these messages. Welcome back to Your Health Matters. My guest today is Gretchen Hildner. Thanks again, Gretchen, for being on the show. We were talking about lymphedema before the break and the sleeves or garments that people can get. You mentioned that insurance a lot of times doesn't cover that, but it sounds like it's a pretty important part of the therapy. And then the bandages you mentioned.
And the bandages are costly too. And
Okay.
again, I don't know of any insurance that will cover the bandages. And so it is a challenge to find the money to pay to cover the cost
Okay, yeah.
of care. There's always possibly trying your church to see if there are any monies there. We have the Kingman Cancer Care Unit. If it's
Oh,
cancer related, there may
okay.
be some money available.
That's great too. That's a good thing to think about. The Kingman Cancer Care Unit is there for us for a lot of those kind of programs. We also talked about that you need a referral. So if you, for instance, I just happen my arm just starts swelling.
And if you're, well, let's start with this. I'd love for everyone to be aware of lymphedema, and especially if they're going in for any kind of procedure. Even, and I don't know if I mentioned, even an abdominal surgery can result in some kind of swelling. So I
Okay.
would love for our patients to know what may happen, even though it may never happen,
Sure,
so that
it's better
they
to
can
be prepared.
There are things to look for even before you see swelling. You might notice just that your arm seems kind of heavy. It doesn't look any different, but it feels different.
Oh, interesting. And
right.
that's that protein building up or the
Yep, it
fluids
could be
building up.
fluid in sort of deep in the tissue that isn't expanding, that you can't really see yet. Maybe your ring just doesn't look that different, but that ring is just a little tight. Yeah, or your shirt or your undergarments feel just a little snug. So
Okay.
things to look for.
Yeah.
And then if in fact you're noticing those things, you shouldn't wait, because it's always
Okay.
better to prevent it from happening than to try to treat it. And now to
Right.
prevention.
Okay, and so prevention, what is that? What's involved with prevention?
Again, being aware of what to notice before you see swelling, and then all of those other things. And one thing I didn't mention, besides preventing infections or injury, is air travel. If you're going to be flying in a plane, even if you have no symptoms at all and you know you might be at risk, it's probably a good idea. If it were me, I would wear an arm garment.
Oh,
Just because our body tends to do a little swelling,
yeah,
and that
flying
may
always
just
seems
trigger
to-
it.
Okay, never thought of that, but it makes sense because I know, especially if you're on longer flights, you have even more tendency to swell
My
up.
shoes get tight.
Yeah, they do, and my rings too.
Right.
And I think it's a sign of aging for me too, because when I was younger, I didn't have that problem.
Yeah.
So those are some prevention things, and then, so if you start to see those symptoms, you go to your primary care.
I would go to primary care.
Okay.
Yep, and tell them what you're seeing and what you think, and
Okay.
and fortunately we have treatment right here in Kingman.
Right.
Outside of us, I think the closest place is Las Vegas or Phoenix.
Oh, so Bullhead and Lake Havasu don't even have that.
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. Well, that's good. We may have to start advertising over there.
Right.
Let people know they need to come over here to get that fixed.
Oh, I'm sure we will.
Yeah, very good. Now, I was thinking there was something else I was going to ask you. We were talking about the referrals and the precaution sides of it. Is there anything else that you can think of people need to be aware of with this?
Let's see. Thinking about knowing who's at risk, whether you're at risk or not, what to look for, what to do when you suspect, and then just being aware of the treatment and what's involved. And it's fairly intensive. If you've got if you have a full swollen arm, if you're if you don't have the
catch it
swelling
early.
yet, yeah, I would say if you can get your physician to refer you, we can at least get you measured, get you into an appropriate garment, and keep you on file to sort of
Before it gets bad.
develop that
kind of thing.
relationship in case
Uh-huh.
anything happens in the future.
Okay.
And that's easy, that's quick.
Sure.
If you have a swollen arm, once you come in, ideally the therapy should be done Monday through Friday. It should be done every day,
5
like
days
5 days a
oh,
week.
wow.
And the more you can do it, the quicker you're going to get results.
Sure, that makes sense.
And the less you have to go home with that big bandage and
Yeah.
have that bandage on 24 hours
So
a day.
the bandage, is it like a compression wrap, or what is it?
It's multi-layered, short stretch wrap. So that
Okay.
looks like an ACE bandage.
Uh-huh.
It's not an ACE bandage. You
Okay.
don't want to use ACE bandage on this. It'll make it worse.
Oh.
So it's several layers, and
Is it
it-
tight? I mean, do you Is that what it's
It
doing?
restricts your movement to some
Okay,
extent. It
okay.
doesn't feel especially tight. It's not really uncomfortable.
Right,
It's just
right.
a kind of bulky.
Okay.
And again, like I said, it's almost like wearing a cast because it just stays put.
Yeah, and then you change it then every
Yeah.
day when you come in for your therapy?
You can use the same wraps over and over again.
Oh, okay. So
But-
that's good to know.
so-
But that's probably why they're a little expensive too.
Exactly.
Because you're reusing them.
So you come in, we do the manual drainage, wrap you up. Come in, manual drainage, wrap you up,
Okay.
and then finally do the garment.
Okay.
So it's
And how long do you think?
Yeah,
average?
Ballpark for a mild case is a couple of weeks, maybe 2 to
Okay.
3 weeks
Okay.
before we get you fitted.
Okay.
A much more severe case would take longer.
Sure.
And fortunately, Medicare, there's no cap on lymphedema visits.
Oh,
so
that's good.
you're free to go and get that treatment that you need, even though they don't pay for the garment.
Yeah.
And, some advanced cases really need that.
Yeah. And that's why, of course, again, it's important. I would think they get advanced if they don't take care of it right away.
And again, depends. If you had
Okay.
a sentinel node biopsy and then just 2 or 3 lymph nodes removed, you have a very small risk. If you end up with lymphedema, it's probably going to be very mild, and it
okay.
probably would never advance to something really
Where
big.
if you
so
had to have all your lymph nodes removed, if
Then
that
you're
was
at-
part of your cancer, whatever, then you're probably going to have more
and we
severe.
should also mention that it's not just cancer and it's not just lymph nodes.
Oh.
Very common would be someone with chronic venous insufficiency.
Wow, how long did it take you to learn that
I
word?
know, right?
Run that one by me again.
If you have a problem with your veins and you get your legs kind of swell up,
Okay, like varicose veins?
well,
or-
probably it's not necessarily just varicose veins,
Okay.
but both. I mean, if both your legs are swelling,
Mm-hmm.
and your heart is fine, you don't have congestive heart failure, you probably have
Something else
CVI.
is going on.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if that goes on over years, so what happens is that your blood kind of pools in your veins because the veins get kind of slack and the
Right.
valves aren't working, so it just kind of wants to pool down there, and you get extra fluid because of that, not just blood.
Right.
And then you should probably be wearing some
Like
of those
support hose type
yeah,
of thing.
support hose, some compression hose.
Uh-huh.
But if not, and that goes on over the years, then all of a sudden the lymphatic system that's been so overwhelmed by all that swelling is going to start breaking down too.
Oh.
So then you have a combination of the venous problem and the lymphatic problem.
Wow.
So I think there's probably a lot of folks who have, this kind of combination problem in their legs that can be helped.
Now, is that a result of obesity? A lot
Not
of times?
necessarily.
No? Okay.
Just
Can be, but not necessarily.
just veins that go
Diabetes or-
kaput.
Oh.
It's age related.
Maybe-
How about
Yeah,
that?
that too.
Goes
And
along
would
with
it be-
arthritis.
Yeah, would it be genetic as well for your parents?
It's honestly, I'm not sure if that would be a
Okay.
genetic thing or not.
I'm just wondering if your parents had it or siblings, if you were likely to have it as
I
well.
could only guess.
Yeah, kind of things.
Most
Some-
things are.
Yes, yeah. Pass it on.
Um,
Well, and a
so-
lot of things are health habits. Also, we get.
In fact,
Yes.
and obesity, along with that other thing I was talking about. Again, obesity, chronic obesity, the same thing can happen where the lymphatics and the legs are just overwhelmed for so long that they're
They
not
just
working
start
as
to
well,
shut down.
and so you can have an actual lymphatic problem or lymphedema in
yeah.
the legs.
Okay.
So
So if someone has more questions, we're going to give them the phone number for the clinic. And what is that again?
it's 681-8718.
8718, okay. And your office is actually on Wallapai Mountain Road.
That's right.
Right, up by the mountain shadow. You're kind of up, not quite that far. Or no, you are farther, on the left-hand side going up the hill. Mountain View Physical Therapy.
I should know where Mountain Shadow is. I'm still
Okay.
kind of new in Kingman.
All right, well, they can call. And
Yeah.
I appreciate
Yep.
you being on the show, Gretchen. I learned a lot today. Thank you. I hope you did too. We'll see you again next week with another great guest.